Witchspring Art is a JRPG you probably never heard of. Well, maybe you might have heard of it on your mobile phone since they had 6 of those, I believe, that were all purchasable on the phone. But now they actually released a remake of one completely on the PC, and it looks incredible, it feels incredible, it plays incredible, and it's something that I truly believe if you like JRPGs, you should very much put this on your radar and give it a shot, give it a try. I doubt you will be disappointed. Now, let's talk a little bit more about it. So the art style that we're looking at here is very low poly count. It's very childish-like, very wholesome looking, and it's just very nice on the eyes. It's just a pleasant time. It's got happy music going along with it, and it's just fun. It's enjoyable and fun just to watch. Now for the gameplay itself, we're looking at a turn-based game with 2 options of combat. Well, technically kind of 3, but that's for a later time. So the first option of combat is your melee build. So you can choose either to go for a strict, well, technically there's 3 builds. You can go for a healing build as well, but I mean, why would you ever do that in the game? Why would you go strictly support whenever you can beat them up yourself? But that's an option. You can go super support, you can go for magic DPS, or you can go for melee build. Now, when it comes to magic, you have to use MP, which is in most games anyway. It's kind of self-explanatory. So you have to use magic points in order to cast the spells, and the stronger the spell, the higher the magic point cast will be. So that gets in the point of where you have to, train your magic up and try to have as much MP as possible and all that, just to be able to use these spells as quickly and as much as possible. Another option you have is the physical build, which is not MP cost. Sometimes it's HP or mana cost, depending on the weapon that you choose to use. But overall, it's mostly just you press it and you bop them. Now, they do have a timer for certain physical attacks. I didn't build physical, so I don't know 100% for this. I was a spellcaster god. I just summoned dragons to kill people, but that's its a whole other thing. I know that if you use one physical skill, for example, they have a stun skill. If you use that, then it'll be on cooldown for a set period of time. And you have a bunch of skills, and you just use them up, and there you go, bada bing, bada boom. You punch them a lot, you're golden. Another thing that they added was that whenever you cast a spell, I can't talk. Whenever you cast a spell, you fill the end of your wand or sword or whatever weapon you're using with a little bit of leftover mana. And if you, after casting a spell, you'll see an icon on the bottom that if you use a physical attack after casting a spell, then you will deal a little bit extra damage depending on how much mana you used or how strong your other skill was when you cast it. So if you use a really strong spell, you hit them with a big fireball, then you'll have a lot more on the end of your weapon to hit them with to deal additional damage than if you would have used a really small spell that didn't use a lot of mana, and then you got a little bit on the end of your weapon to hit them with for additional damage, but it won't be as much. So it's a bit of give and take there for physical builds. If you're going for a physical build, you're going to want to have a little bit more damage when you're striking people. So you can just, you don't have to build full into mana or magic, but it's additional damage. That's good. So those are 2 of the main options you can go for. There's another option that's called pets. Now the pets is really cool. You can go capture them. Certain pets will have an icon on the top right saying that you can brainwash them, but you got to look out for them. And whenever you brainwash them, you can level them up first so that they get an additional skill and they deal a little bit more damage. And to level them up, all you have to do is feed them a certain type of food, and then they'll never have to get food again, which is a nice quality of life instead of having to constantly find food for every pet that you own that you want to use, which would get very annoying. Now, you can go for the pet build and you go for a healing build, and they will have their own attacks. So they'll attack normally, and then they'll normally have one additional attack that they have that does a special attack that is like a charged up spell that hits like a lot of damage, or it's like a lot of AoE, but it just does an additional thing that's stronger for you. Another thing I want to get into is the rune system. So they have these cool runes, and you find books whenever you're playing the game, and you have different runes that you can build in order to get different spells. So you can find certain materials. You have to collect the materials from killing certain monsters. You bring them back to your house. Then you craft a rune to use a different spell. Use a stronger spell most of the time. And the spell levels go higher and higher, which is really cool. So there's a very strong feeling of strength progression when you're doing that, because each time you get a new spell, it's not just, it scales off of your mana a little bit more. It feels like it scales off of your mana like double the amount. It feels a lot stronger. Now, it uses more mana because of that, so there's a give and take there. So you might not want to use something that will one-shot the enemy, because then the next time that you fight somebody, you won't have any mana for it. So there's like I was saying before, there's a lot of give and take, a little bit more decision making on that end. And on top of the runes, they also have support runes that you can find that lets it to where you cannot use as much mana to cast a certain spell. You can make it to where your spell does more but casts more mana. and it's another form of building up your abilities to choose what kind of playstyle you want to go with. Another thing that they have also is that they have 3 rune slots for you to put your spells. Now these 3 rune slots have special factors with them. I believe one of them is 5% increased damage with no give or take. One of them is 20% skill cost is reduced just for free. And then the last one is that you have 10% more damage, but you also have 10% more spell cost. And then on top of that placement there, you can also have those support runes on the side. So even though it does 10% more damage and costs 10% more, you can put down a support rune that makes it cost 20% less. So then it costs 10% less overall to cast that same spell. And like I was saying before, a lot of building, a lot of choice decisions, and it's really, really nice. It lets you decide. Though most of the time, if you're going to do a spell build, you're going to just build up your mana as much as possible. You're going to become a glass cannon, and you're going to be focusing entirely on your strongest spells. So there's not a lot of decision making there, but there is a lot when it comes to if you're going to go a physical build, because then you're thinking like, I don't have a lot of mana, I'm not building a lot of mana. So would I truly want a stronger spell if it's not going to hit much stronger, even though it'll give me that little extra bit of damage for my physical attack because it's putting the mana on the end of my sword after I cast a spell, which is really cool. Now, what plays into this power increase fantasy, I can't think of the word power fantasy, I guess is the best word, but you know, incremental increase in powers with the more you play the game, is the pet system. Each pet you get is a little stronger, and they end up scaling with you, but it feels crazy because you start out with just this little worthless little pig boar thing, and then you go up to capturing, and this is fairly early on in the game, you end up capturing like bigger and bigger creatures. I just realized I don't want to spoil anything after I said that. You end up capturing like huge, just game-changing monsters you never thought you would be able to control as a pet. And it feels incredible to just be like, oh, that's cool. Oh, I'm just like a little kid. I got my little boar. Let's yatta desune. Let's go kill some little goblins. Oh wait, I get to ride a dragon. My next pet from a boar is a ginormous dragon. And I'm not saying that's what you get next. I'm just using that as a sort of example to further my point in a better way. So that's it. The power increase just feels sublime. It feels perfect. I never at a point feel like I'm not increasing my power when I'm playing the game. Every time that I play the game, I feel like, oh, I'm stronger. I'm hitting a lot stronger. My numbers are getting bigger, and it feels like I'm progressing in a very nice fashion. It just feels good. It feels incredible. Now, the blessing system, which you get into pretty early on, I feel like about 5 hours, 10 hours in area, is a sort of system. You go to a tower, you talk to the god that died, and then you gain his power, and you get an additional ability you can use between turns. So instead of you just casting a spell and then, oh, it's the next guy's turn, you can cast a blessing that lets you deal damage, and then you get another turn. So you get to the point of end game where you're casting like 3 blessings, and it's still your turn. So you're like, ba ba ba. Oh, still my turn. Ba ba ba. Oh, still my turn. Ba ba ba. Oh, still my turn. Let me cast my final spell and finish everyone off. Then that just plays more into the power fantasy of just feeling OP by the end of the game, which is awesome. Now the items, they also did a very cool and I think kind of smart system when it comes to this as well. So the items you can either use to build something, you can either use them to make a spell, you can feed them to animals. They're used for a lot of things. You can use them to unlock a new pet, or you can use them to unlock a new wand, level up a wand, use it as materials for crafting a wand. And I'll try to remember to tell you a little bit more about that as well. But you can also, instead of doing all of that, if you just don't need it anymore, you know, you've done everything you wanted with a certain material, you can eat it and permanently increase your stats a certain percentage, or not percentage, but a certain amount. For example, you can kill a boar. Let's just say you can kill a boar and you'll get boar meat, and you can be like, oh, I can either use this boar meat to to make a potion, I can use it to do all these other things, or I can just eat it and increase my life by like 3%. So, okay, my HP is not 3%, by 3. I can be like, oh, my HP up 3. Free, that's free. So I can farm these things and it doesn't feel worthless because overall I'm still increasing my power by eating them. So it's not like I have this 100 useless stacks of an item that has no purpose in my inventory. If they have no purpose, at the very least, I can still just eat it and I can increase my power that way. So it's not nothing. It's not used for nothing. I can use it for that instead. So at least it gives you something. Now, when you get into the end game, it's 3 HP is not going to be a lot now. Let me not get your hopes up, but it's at least something more than nothing. It's 1 instead of 0. Another thing I'd like to go into, we talked about runes. Training mini games. I'm glad I have my sheet of paper down over there. Now, training mini games, every time you play the game, you get a little bit of XP, and your XP can increase your level, and your level can hit a cap, but it just gives you a couple bonuses on there. But another thing is that you can either, whenever you gain XP, you can level up your what I'm trying to say. Whenever you gain XP, you can do training mini games. So, and you'll be able to tell from the top left of your screen, it shows a little buff arm that tells you how many trainings you can do. And your training, you can decide what kind of skills you want to go into. So you can be like, oh, I want to be a tank. I want to be a really healthy tank. You can go into that skill. You can be like, oh, I want a lot of mana. You can go into that. Oh, I want a lot of strength. I want a lot of skill damage, spell damage. You can go into that instead. And you get to choose how your build goes from that window. And each time that you focus on either your physical body or you focus on the mana portion, you increase that as well, and you can increase it to a point where it'll level up, and you won't just be getting an additional mana percent, or you won't be getting an additional mana boost. You'll also be getting a crit rate when it comes. Let's just go with if you increase your mana body, because I know that one because that's the one I level up more. When you increase your mana body to a certain level, you'll level up, and then you will get a increase in spell crit damage, and you will get a increase in mana gained whenever you block. So when you block, you have a little bit of mana that you gain back after it becomes your turn again, and you get a little bit of health that you gain back after your turn again. And that's all based off of which body you decided to level up more. And when it comes to the physical one, now this is very cool. If you do the physical one, you will gain skills with each level. So you get to the first level, you'll gain a couple skills that'll help you be able to attack more, use different basic attacks more. So the physical body feels stronger for leveling up if you're going for a physical build, which is really nice since you're gaining more skills that way. But the magical body, even though you don't gain skills, I think you gain like one skill from leveling up the mana body, you're still getting mana, which is vital to cast those spells that you farmed for. So it's two completely different play styles that makes you play in completely different ways of what you actually want to go for. So if you're trying to go for physical damage, you're going to want to prioritize solely on leveling up your body and no mana, basically. And that just makes you go for that instead. But if you go for your mana body, then you have to focus on that. But not only that, you're not getting any skills if you focus solely on your mana body. You also have to farm for the parts to cast stronger spells. So then you have another interplay there that you have to focus on instead of having to just go for the physical body where you just max out strength, health, and defense, and you're golden. You're a gold boy. And the mana, you have to decide, do I want to get one shot and be a glass cannon, or do I want to have more mana so I can spam my spells more? And I really like that aspect of the game. It makes you really decide what you're going to do. So we talked about all that. Oh yeah, the wands really quickly, or the weapons. You can level up certain weapons and it'll increase its effectiveness. You can also evolve certain weapons, so they won't just be like the same thing. You can evolve them in certain ways. So if you wanted a physical weapon more, then you can boost it that way. If you wanted a healing weapon more, you can boost it that way. And you can boost it up to the point where it evolves, and then it'll get like an additional ability, or it'll get better scaling for the path that you decided to go down. And it's really nice that you can evolve weapons, because it gets you something to farm for, but then you got something else to use your items for, because you can just throw any items in there, and the rarer the item, the more it'll boost it up towards its evolution. And some evolutions have certain items that you need to get in order to actually evolve it, and it won't let it go, and that's another reason for you to farm items. Now, we talked a lot about items. Let's talk about monster respawn times. Now, these monster respawn times are based off of not the real world time, at least not what I've been able to observe. It's based off of basically XP gained and monsters killed, because I've waited a bit, not seeing the timers for monsters go down in the slightest. Then I went and I killed some guys, and I was like, oh, the percentage went up a little more for its respawn, so let me go kill a bunch of more things. And it makes you want to prioritize monsters you haven't killed yet, because if you've killed monsters already, then they'll have a thing where it's either they won't give you any, or they won't give you as much XP. So it makes you want to go out and find monsters you haven't killed at all. And I don't mean just the monster class, just there's certain bundles of monsters in each area. And if you killed one bunch of monsters, then that's done. You can't kill them again and get that bonus anymore. You have to find another bunch of monsters, even if it's the same kind of monster. So that gives you another boost of XP. So it makes you really want to go kill everything. Basically, even if you're not of that level, it makes you want to go back and kill those just so you can boost the respawn times of monsters. Now, the monster times can get very annoying, because at the very end of the game, the timers for very big bosses take forever. So you're just sitting there like, please, I just want to kill this one thing to evolve my weapon. And I don't know where else to go to kill stuff to get this timer to go down. It's taking forever. And I think I spent 4 hours trying to find stuff. It's more around 2 hours because I was doing other stuff. Trying to find stuff to kill so that I can summon a monster to kill so I can get their part to evolve a weapon. It took forever. But that's in game. That's whenever it gets super hard scaled, and it sucks, but I wouldn't call it a really big deal breaker at that point, because I mean, at that point, you're basically at the end of the game. You have a couple hours left and you're done. Now, I've already talked about all that. Let's talk about the story, the reason that you play these games. Now, I'm not going to go into details. I'm going to give you the broadest summarization of what I can tell you for the story and try to get you hooked on it. So this is from memory too, by the way. I played the start of the story about a week ago, so bear with me. Your name's Pieberry. You don't know who your mother is. You don't know who your father is. You're stuck in a cabin by yourself and you don't know anything. There's a golem blocking the entrance for you to leave. There's nights that come and you just love pies, which is the reason why you named yourself Pieberry. That's your summarization. Now, the preamble to that, what happened before? Well, what's happening? Why is Pieberry hiding from all the knights? And why is the knights trying to kill him? What's this witch hunt thing going on? So what happened was there's a bunch of gods with superpowers that built the world and all that jazz. And they got betrayed. They created miracles for humans. You know, they're all nice to humans. And then the humans decided, you know what? I think I'd like that power instead. So they got this pope that was like, I think I'll take that power now. Killed all the gods. Decided, hey, I'm gonna kill all the witches too because they're bad people. Decided to kill all the witches too, and now is trying to kill just all the witches and just make a nice place with no witches, no gods, nothing, and him have all the power. Now this story gets a little deeper, and I'll let you you find that out on yourself. But that's the main gist of things. They're trying to kill all the witches. Witches are abominations on the world, and everyone hates you. And the thing that I like most about this game is not the story itself, because the story, it has a very predictable outline. You know where it's going to go for the most part, other than a little couple things that make it very surprising. There's some very surprising parts that's enjoyable. I'm not going to say it's all predictable, but you can kind of tell where it's going to go for the most part. But the best part is the people you find. The characters, I love all of them. They're all just so wholesome, so adorable, so awesome. The story gets sad at some points, and it hurts my heart to see. But these characters are just great. I love them so much. And another cool thing, each character that's really important to Pieberry at the start screen, you'll see it slowly fill out the roster, and you'll be like, oh, I know them. Oh, they're friends now because they're in the start screen. Oh, that's so cute. I love that aspect so much. The characters are so wholesome. They each have their own distinct flavor with each of them. They're not all the same person. They got some very funny comedy parts in this. It's not staying stray here. It's not playing it safe. They got some funny parts that you wouldn't expect just out of nowhere. Pieberry as a character, love her. She is adorable. She is funny. She's awesome. She's cute. She's all that and above. And it's just, overall, this is just an incredible experience. I truly believe if you love any sort of JRPG game, you will love this one. Another thing, just I want to say really quick, they respect your time. Now, a lot of JRPGs, they try to hit the 10 billion hour mark. They're like, oh, you wanted this cool weapon. Well, instead of getting this cool weapon, how about you slay 10,000 monsters and then get back to me in 5 months? Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do all this busy work. And they have a little bit of busy work, but it's so minimal. You don't even realize that you're doing it. It's just so to the point. You want something? Here, have it. You did the work already. There's some, let's say weapons and stuff where you have to fetch items and stuff, or you'll have to kill a monster and you'll see the weapon behind the monster. You'll be like, oh my God, I want that. And then you try to fight the monster and you're like, oh, I died. And it's like, oh, dang, man, I should have done something differently. I needed a different power up or something. Man, I guess I got to come back for that because I want that weapon. It looks so cool. I want it. So then you'll just be fueled with this rage to capture that one weapon, and you'll just grind and you'll get up to the point where you can get it, and it'll be everything you hope for and more because it's so cool. There's not a weapon here, except maybe the melee weapons, I think have a little bit weak when it comes to showmanship, flair, but the magic staffs and stuff, they look so cool. The weapons look cool, but their abilities, I'm saying, is not they don't have super cool abilities. Now the staffs, on the other hand, they have some super cool abilities. Each staff has like a unique thing going for them. So you can have a staff that has a unique ability that shoots out a giant fireball, or another staff that shoots out a bunch of mini fireballs that target separately. And it just depends on the staff. So the staffs scale differently too. But each staff you get, you just really want to see the ability that it does because it's just so cool looking. And everything, all the hype lives up to it. All that grinding, it lives up to it. You're never grinding and then you're like, oh wow, it's garbage. Thanks a lot. I did all that for no reason. No, anything that you do, it feels worth it, because even if you don't like the item that you got, you can always just eat the items that it costs to make that item. Like I was saying before, consume the items, get a permanent buff to your health, your mana, your strength, your magic, any of that. And it's just incredible. Now, I would love for you to just, if you play the game, please leave a comment down below. Tell me how you felt about it. It's incredible. I really want more people to try it out. I haven't seen anyone really talk about it. It's got an overwhelming on Steam, but no one's talking about it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review. All right, catch you next time. I stream in the mornings. じゃあね。